Hey there, YouTube family. Welcome to the Stocks with Josh show. Go ahead, check in the comments and say hi and hit that like for me. This morning, we had a nice surprise coming out of China. President Xi said that he was going to pull back and lighten some of those heavy zero COVID restriction policies. And as a result, a lot of our Chinese plays, our Chinese stocks fired off today. Alibaba, I called this a while back and said that it was a strong buy at $58, $59. It would be a load up moment, and that's exactly what it was. Now, I know that a lot of you guys may not have followed me in that trade, but I know a fair number of you guys have followed me in that trade, and it has been wildly profitable. Now, I was tempted to sell out my entire position when we came up off that $58, $59 area and vacillated around that $64 to $66 area. I did actually sell half of my position at one point, and I began to slowly accumulate some of it back. The other half, I told you guys yesterday that I was going to reacquire because I was very surprised that even though we were having a bearish day yesterday, Alibaba was behaving abnormally strong. Well, obviously, there's always smart money and there's always people in the know who are getting ahead of the rest of us. I identified that it was acting bullish, and other people were getting in because they probably knew what was going to be coming out of the China. We got that news and the stock popped. It jumped up over $6. We had a 10% rise pre-market, getting us to a high of $71.64. And I'm going to tell you, I sold my total position because it was just a huge profit. I got in above 58, slightly above $58, and I got out at $71.64. Now, I still believe that Alibaba is going to hit a $73, $75 target in the days ahead, but that move was just too strong. And it also did, after it hit that peak this morning, it has slowly bled off till then. I believe that there's going to be an opportunity to reacquire, and I still think we're going to test that 73 and 75 range. I think we're still moving up on Alibaba. When you make hundreds of percentage points on a trade, you've got to go ahead and take profits. And that's what I did with Alibaba. I also did a video this last week talking about NIO. I think that was a very eye-opening video for many of you. You guys told me and shared your personal experiences with NIO. And a lot of you guys asked me in the comment section after I made that video if you should just sell and take your losses. And I said no. I said my price target for NIO is still $13 to $14. And there's still a chance that NIO could break above that and kind of resecure itself above that $13, $14 range. And so you do not want to sell it prematurely, but you need to have your eyes open with both of these plays, that if we get up to that $73, $75 range on Alibaba and it fails and it begins to slowly break down, then we're going to come back and we're going to retest that 58, 59. And I'm going to say the same thing with you guys about NIO. If we do not close above that $13 to $14 range and begin to move sideways, all right, and establish ourselves at that range, and we begin to break back down beneath $10, then yes, we're very likely going to make a new low, which would be that $5.50 range. But today was a good day. Everybody's pocketbook who was trading the Chinese stocks, they were all up today. I hope you guys were able to take some profits for stocks that you were in the profit on. We also got the jobs report this morning, and it was somewhat mixed as a report, but it seemed to be interpreted largely by the market as a bullish opportunity. Now, I want to point out a stock to you. If we look at the stock heat map, that is a little bit of an outlier, two stocks. And I think they tell a story that it's extremely important for you guys to be mindful of. And that's that Apple and Tesla were down. Now, this has happened once before when the markets were going up and yet Apple and Tesla were unwinding. So they were selling into a bullish day. I've been saying for quite a while that Apple and Tesla are the big boys, and there's a lot of room in those two companies for the smart money and the institutional money to begin to unwind their position, because going into this next year, going into this recession, and going into some poor earnings or earnings that are lowered could significantly cause both Tesla and Apple to come back and find new lows that we've yet to see. And so I believe that on a bullish day where the market was going up, Apple and Tesla were coming down and unwinding. But I'm just going to tell you guys, it doesn't mean to sell all your Apple and sell all your Tesla today. It's going to move in stages and move in levels. All right, I want to cover with you guys the QQQs, the SQQ and the TQQ. These are inverse 3x ETFs against the NASDAQ, against the QQQ, and I'm just going to give you guys an update on how my plays have been going. Well, I have made a large amount of money on a small play on the SQQ, and I have washed out and come back to my entry point largely or closely on the TQQQ. And so I still believe I'm going to hold my TQQ. I do have a stop loss. If it gets below my entry, it'll kick me out. So it is possible Monday or Tuesday, I might get kicked out of my position if these markets were to go down. At the moment, I basically went from around $16.50 up to $22, and I've come back just below $17. So that has so far not been a very profitable trade for me. I've just lost some time on that. But when the SQQ came down around the $50 mark, I took a small starter position, and then that one took off. I wish I had taken a much bigger position on it because that has proven to be profitable, and I'm looking to take profits on that very soon, and I'm hoping that my TQQ will hold and go back up into the profit. That's an update on the Qs. I'm going to give you guys a little update on our Verb play, but for just a moment, I'm going to make a station break. As always, my videos are time-stamped for your convenience. But before we begin, this episode is brought to you by the MooMoo investing app. If you guys want to get 15 free stock on a free-to-trade, no commission cost mobile, iPad, or desktop app, then sign up. All you got to do is put $100 on the platform. It's free to use. You get 16 hours of trading, free level 2 data, plus you get to join the Stocks with Josh community page as well as our group chat. All 15 free stocks have a potential value of up to $2,000 each. The pot is $30K. Check the link in the description of the video and join us. All right, so what is the update on Verb? Verb is one of our small cap plays, and right now it's down. It has come back to a place where we called accumulation at 50 cents, but then it broke through that and it broke down. And there really was no major news event or problem that we've gone through, except for the fact that they had to raise money. And a lot of the analysts were concerned that they were burning through cash too quickly and that they would run out of the ability to raise cash and that they would run out of cash flow and put themselves in a jeopardizing situation where they could not move forward. And because of that, the stock has dropped from around 50 cents all the way to 20 cents. And it's been painful because I have shared with everybody that I was not going to use a stop loss on this stock and that I was going to basically accumulate it under the 50-cent range. I didn't want to get kicked out because I knew that small cap stocks are extremely volatile. They're hard to play. The main way that you can play them is you can play them with a stop loss, and you really just want to put your stop loss a penny beneath your entry. And if you do that, you're going to get kicked out over and over and over again, and you have to hope that you're just catching it to the upside. Or you put yourself into a position of accumulation and you buy incrementally as it drops, which is the approach that I've taken. But to hedge your risk there, you have to keep a small position size because these can lose 50% value very, very quickly. We're at 20 cents, and we have to be mindful of the fact that Verb could go down all the way to 10 cents. This is a risky stock. But we do have some good news on Verb today, and I just want to point everybody who asks me in the comment section, what about the Verb play, that we are still waiting on earnings. Earnings is November 21st. That's when earnings is expected to come out, and we are hoping for an absolute beat of expectations. It's supposed to be a negative 0.6 cents, and we're hoping that they will crush it. We have reason to believe that they might crush it because this is the first quarter that they've had the opportunity to make profits from their market software, which was released in the middle of this last quarter. Okay, but in addition to that, we've got a pretty cool news story that came out, and the news story is that Verb has made a deal with Major League Baseball Pittsburgh Pirates. They announced that they are going to use the interactive video technology with a multi-year deal. This is very bullish to me. There's really nothing wrong with the leadership. We have a fine CEO. There's nothing wrong with the product. There is a concern about them running out of cash. but they are moving very quickly to bring out and make relationships. And yet here again is another big relationship with Major League Baseball. They did a pilot program with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that was very successful. And it's been signed into a multi-year deal. That's more money going into our next earnings. So Verb has received approval from Major League Baseball's advanced media for league-wide use. All of that's going to lead to more profits. And that's what we're looking for in Verb right now. We're looking for that revenue to be generated. We're looking for that profits, and we're looking for them to stop losing money and stop spending money and begin to earn money. And here's another feather in their cap. And so as far as I'm concerned, the bullish narrative or the bullish fundamentals are still in place on Verb. Even though the price action on Verb has come down, we're seeing that it's not on heavy volume nor on heavy selling pressure. But we're going to be facing this earnings, and these guys are going to have to show the proof of their success coming up here very, very soon in November. So I've learned something from doing some of the surveys that I have the opportunity to do on my YouTube channel. When I've asked people who's entered into my small cap plays, I see that a very, very high percentage of you guys have joined me on the small caps. But when I've turned around and I've asked who's joined me on some of my bigger plays like Norwegian Cruise Lines or Alibaba or some of the other successful plays like ETH that we just had, I see that really about 10% of you guys say that you've joined me. And that makes a lot of sense because I know that people who are learning how to trade are typically trading with small position. But I want you guys to take away an observation. I have been repeatedly making more money each week on these bigger plays than I even have invested in small cap plays. So you need to be careful about that. There's nothing wrong with doing some small cap investment or some penny stock investment, but if it's your only play and then it drops 50% and you get totally discouraged and you walk away from trading because you just don't think you can hack it, then at the end of the day, it appears to me like for some of you, it could become more of an obstacle. But I'm still confident in my Verb play and my SBET play. I have not lost my confidence in them. I don't enjoy those stocks being down. I'm not telling you guys to load up on them. I'm saying that if you have a position, be patient with it. The story is still unfolding, and we're still getting bullish news from the company. Let's take a minute and look at the S&P 500. We are looking for a break back above and a hold of the 3,800. On the S&P 500, I also think we're at a critical place. I spent a lot of time looking at this chart today. If we break down from here and we fail to break quickly above the 3,800 Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, then we're very likely going to go back and retest the lows. And so we need to keep an eye on that as well. What I see most likely is this zone that we're sort of bouncing around. We're on the bottom side of it now. And what I would like to see or hope to see the markets do is enter back into that zone and go back up and retest the 3,900 area of that zone. That's what I'm expecting or watching for on Monday and Tuesday. All right, crypto. Crypto's all green today, which is really, really nice, but it's actually pressing on my patience because you guys know that I got out of a really big ETH position in high profit, but I want to get back in. And right now, ETH just keeps coming back to this 1,600 zone, and it just keeps hitting up against it. So what I believe is happening right here is there's a supply zone. There's a lot of bag holders right above 1,600 that are basically stuck, and so it's having trouble pushing through that. So every time it gets up into that zone and it fails to break through, people are selling at that 1,600 mark. But eventually it's going to eat up that supply zone and very likely break through. But what I'm hoping that we'll do is that sometime in the meantime, we'll come back and hit that 1420. That would be a safe entry. And yes, it is absolutely possible that if this keeps beating up against 1600, that it could break through and move on without me. But I've got to stick to my plan. I've got to stick to the places where I believe I need to buy conservatively so I can make those high profits that you guys have witnessed me making. 1280 was the perfect buy. 1600 was an ideal sell. And now 1420 would be another perfect buy for me. And then from there, I'd be looking for that break through the 1600. But at the moment, I'm stuck waiting on it. On my very next video, I want to show you guys a really interesting signal on Bitcoin. It's showing that we very possibly may have the bottom booked behind us. I think it's going to be really interesting to look at the charts and see this potential bottom scenario and see how it plays out. I think you guys will love that. So I want to tell you guys what I think is currently going on in the markets. Right now, we're in a holding pattern. We're largely sort of moving sideways in a tight range between that 3,700 and maybe that 3,900. This is a range that it's spent some time in the past. And right now, nobody is really going to sell hard. We have two potential bullish events ahead of us. We have the potential of the midterms. We talked about that being a gridlock rally. The market's not going to sell in advance of that. What they're going to do is they might rally in advance of that, and if they don't like the outcome, they may sell right after it. And another big event that we've got next week, November 10th at 8:30 a.m., is the CPI number. Now, we know that the Fed has already told us that that's his favorite number to look at. And so again, if this number came back really high, well, then we know that the Fed is just going to continue to raise interest rates. But if it came in good, then we know that the narrative of a pivot would be back on the table, and it could allow us to rally all the way into the next Fed rate hike. And then after that, in the following week, on Monday, November 15th at 8:30 a.m., we have the PPI number. That's on Monday. All three of those are pretty critical data points for the market. They want to process them. I've been saying for quite a while that the markets will just not go down for no reason. They're going to be looking for an event. And right now, we've got some events which could be bullish. And so they're just not going to sell off more than they have right now. But we're also not necessarily going to make new highs unless those data reports come out great. You guys, the purpose of my channel is for education. It is not a suggestion for what you guys should buy, sell, or hold. You know, it's my heart to take you guys along with me on the journey. I love to hear about you guys making money and learning how to become better traders. If you want to be part of that, then hit that like, the subscribe, and the notification bell. Go ahead and join us over on the MooMoo community to continue the conversation. As always, peace and blessings, my friends. Take care.